Christmas Eve, Algiers, the calm before the storm. The date was December 24th, 1994, Houari Boumediene Airport in Algiers. A festive spirit was in the air. Or it should have been. Families were preparing to travel. They hoped for holiday reunions. Air France Flight 8969 was scheduled, its destination Paris. An Airbus A300 stood on the tarmac. Passengers began to board. They carried gifts and luggage. They anticipated a normal flight. Little did they know. Their journey would be anything but ordinary. The morning was cool. The sky was relatively clear. Airport staff moved with routine efficiency. Check-in desks bustled. Security checks were performed, or so it seemed. 4 men, however, passed through. They were dressed as presidential police. They carried official-looking badges. They held a dark purpose. Boarding pass to terror. The hijackers emerge. The plane was moments from pushing back. Suddenly, the 4 men stood. They moved quickly. Their disguises were effective. They brandished their weapons, Kalashnikov assault rifles, Uzi submachine guns, explosives. Panic erupted. Shouts, screams. The men identified themselves. They were members of the GIA, the armed Islamic group of Algeria. Their intentions were immediately clear. This was a hijacking, a serious one. The leader was Abdullah Yahya, also known as the Emir. He was young. He was ruthless. His followers were equally determined. They barked orders. They forced passengers to stay seated. They demanded cooperation from the crew. Demands and deadlines, a test of nerves. The hijackers made their first demands. They wanted the release of 2 GIA leaders, Abbasi Madani and Ali Belhaj. Both were imprisoned in Algeria. This was their primary political goal. They also demanded fuel. Enough fuel to fly the plane. Where to? They did not say immediately. The Algerian authorities were now involved. A negotiation team was assembled. The situation was delicate, extremely dangerous. Hours passed. The tension inside the aircraft was unbearable. Passengers remained silent. They prayed. They feared the worst. The hijackers grew impatient. They set deadlines. If their demands were not met, they would execute hostages. This was not an idle threat. To prove their resolve, they selected a passenger. Voices from the inside, passengers and crew in fear. Inside the Airbus, time moved slowly. Each tick of the clock amplified the fear. Passengers huddled together. Strangers found solace in shared terror. Children cried softly. Parents tried to comfort them. The air was thick with anxiety. The hijackers patrolled the aisles. Their faces were grim. Their weapons were always visible, a constant reminder of the danger. Any sudden movement could be fatal, any word misconstrued. The crew members showed remarkable courage. Flight attendants tried to calm passengers. They relayed messages. They complied with hijackers' orders. They did so to protect lives. The pilots in the cockpit faced immense pressure. They were the hijackers' unwilling chauffeurs. Captain Delamay had to negotiate. He had to reason with Yahya. Section 5, Marseille, a new stage for a deadly play. After nearly 40 agonizing hours in Algiers, after 2 executions, the hijackers made a new demand. They wanted to fly to Paris. Their stated intention to hold a press conference. The Algerian authorities finally relented. They allowed the plane to be refueled, just enough to reach Marseille, France, not Paris. This was a calculated decision. The French were now directly involved. The plane took off. It left Algiers behind. It headed for Europe. It was early morning on December 26th. Air France Flight 8969 landed at Marseille-Provence Airport. The aircraft was immediately surrounded, not by welcoming ground crew, but by heavily armed French police, and the GIGN, Groupe d'Intervention de la Gendarmerie Nationale, France's elite counter-terrorism unit. They were ready. They had been preparing. Section 6, GIGN on standby. The elite prepares for confrontation. The GIGN unit was under the command of Denis Favier, a seasoned leader. His men were highly trained, experts in close-quarters combat, experts in hostage rescue. They had been tracking the flight. They had studied the Airbus A300 layout. They had rehearsed potential assault scenarios. Now, on the ground in Marseille, they were ready. They observed the hijackers' movements. They listened to cockpit communications. They gathered vital intelligence. The negotiators continued their dialogue. They tried to buy time. They offered food and water. The hijackers refused most offers. Their demands remained unchanged. fly to Paris or face the consequences. The GGN team used this time wisely. They positioned snipers. They prepared mobile stairways. These would allow them to access the plane's doors. Section 7. The assault begins. Thunder on the tarmac. At 5:17 p.m. local time, the GIGN assault began. 3 mobile stairways sped towards the Airbus, 1 towards the front right door, 2 towards the rear doors. The hijackers were caught by surprise, but they reacted quickly. They opened fire. The GIGN commandos returned fire. The sounds of gunfire and stun grenades echoed across the tarmac. It was sudden. It was violent. The battle for Flight 8969 had started. The first team of 8 GIGN members stormed the front door. They faced immediate resistance. The hijackers were entrenched. They knew the plane's layout. They used it to their advantage. Bullets ripped through the cabin. The commandos advanced cautiously. Their priority was to neutralize the terrorists and to protect the hostages who were caught in the crossfire. Screams filled the air. Section 8. Bullets and bravery inside the liberated plane. Inside the besieged aircraft, the GIGN pressed their advantage. Despite the intense gunfire, despite their own injuries, 9 commandos were wounded during the assault, 1 seriously. The hijackers fought desperately. They knew this was their end. They had nothing to lose. They fired indiscriminately. They threw grenades. The confined space of the plane amplified the horror. Every shot was a potential death sentence. The GIGN team leader, Denis Favier, was at the forefront. He directed his men. He made critical decisions under fire. The training of the GIGN was evident. Their discipline held. They focused on their targets. They protected the innocent. Passengers, terrified, followed GIGN instructions. They were guided towards the emergency exits. They slid down the inflatable chutes to safety, or so they hoped. Section 9. Aftermath in Marseille, scars and lessons learned. The immediate aftermath was chaotic. Injured passengers and GIGN commandos were rushed to hospitals. The uninjured were taken to a secure location. Debriefed, cared for. Families waited anxiously for news. The relief when they learned their loved ones were safe was immense. The world praised the GIGN, their professionalism, their courage. They had prevented a much larger catastrophe. The hijackers had reportedly planned to explode the plane over Paris. The investigation began swiftly. The Airbus A300 was a crime scene. Forensic teams scoured the aircraft. They collected evidence. They pieced together the events. The motives of the GIA were clear: to pressure the Algerian government, to make a statement on the world stage. Their plan had failed. But they had caused immense suffering. They had taken innocent lives. The incident highlighted the growing threat of international terrorism.